And still with us in studio is Ambassador Danny Ayalon, the former Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S. And Danny, when it's protests in the street, it's fairly easy for the government, for Prime Minister Netanyahu, some of his ministers, to call that crowd anarchists. When we're talking about reservist pilots, one of the top units in the Israeli Air Force, that it becomes a much more politically difficult situation for the government.
Oh, absolutely. It seems like that these demonstrations have reached the point of no return, whereby, the government and, some escalatory rhetoric by Yariv Levin and some, not Netanyahu necessarily, actually are, instead of quelling the situation, are bringing more demonstrators with more sectors. And what we saw now, as you reported about the elite Israeli squadron of the Air Force, is heartbreaking. It's unprecedented. To be fair, what they said is that they're not that they are refusing to come to duty.
Right, not to carry out operations,
yes,
we should be clear about.
And it's just one day this week where instead of flying their planes, they're going to discuss democracy values, something like that. But that shows the depth of the crisis. And here, I think it is incumbent upon the Prime Minister. He's supposed to be the responsible adult. He has the authority. He has the power. He has to reach out.
Right.
It's his duty to calm the situation down. How does he do it? There are many ways to do it. He doesn't need my advice, but I can give him some.
Okay, well, let's bring it to the discussion. Reserves, IDF Brigadier General Israel Relik Shafir. He's the former commander of the Tel Nof Air Force Base. And Relik, you earlier signed a letter really warning against these judicial reforms, along with other former top security officials, calling it danger to democracy. Now the next step, some of these pilots saying, at least on one training day, they're going to instead do a kind of protest. How do you feel about that and the way the defense minister, for example, and the prime minister have reacted to it?
I think the reaction of the defense minister should be to try and ease the apprehension of these pilots who actually represent a qualitative and quantitative number of reserve pilots, but not only pilots, also in other branches of the military, who feel that the agreement between the state and the warrior is broken by the fact that people who have very little or no military background are pushing for the judicial, what they call a judicial reform, and what most of these pilots would call a revolution into a non-liberal democracy or dictatorship. And they want to feel that they can trust the leaders who are weakening the judicial system and actually weakening the backing of the pilots, in the fact that pilots who bomb targets don't really know what's in there. They rely on their commanders and on the echelons of the decision makers, and apparently they don't trust those decision makers. For instance, one of the defense ministers last week said that Hawara, which is an Arab village, should be erased. This is something so not only counterproductive, but counter the whole culture upon which Israel is built. So the breaking of the bond between decision makers, top in the government, and the warriors is imminent. That's what they're talking about.